Okay, so I want to go back to this other question that you asked. You remember the myth that we heard, don't cry, when we were children? Don't cry. How about this one? If you're going to cry, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Go to your room, you know? And so we've been sent all these myths about crying is bad. Big girls and big boys don't cry. We hear it all the time. We even hear it in songs. So it is repeated over and over to us. So what happens is we associate being strong with not crying. And we get this message very early on in life. When I do my counseling, if I know there are going to be tears, I put the Kleenex up here and I said, listen, I want you to know they're there. You get it. I'll never hand it to you, because this is another nonverbal cue. What's the first thing that happens when we cry? Somebody hands us a Kleenex. And what it says nonverbally is, I'm uncomfortable with your tears. Here, dry up. And so what we do, it's like telling somebody, don't be sad. Oh, okay. What it says to us is, I can't be sad in front of you. And so then what we do is it takes away that emotion and lets us know it's not safe here. This is not safe. And so I think being open about our emotions and having them validated in a way that doesn't shame us. Being able to laugh through tears. Now, I will hand somebody a Kleenex if their nose starts running.
That's a line.
Yeah, that's a line. Yeah.
That's incredible. So you did hit on some healthy ways to grieve, and we wanted to ask, what are some unhealthy ways to grieve that we should also be aware of?
Okay, unhealthy coping. I said it will ambush you if you don't. Being too busy. If you start the day and your whole purpose of staying busy is to, when you get home at night, just fall in bed and fall asleep. And so you're getting your mind so busy, and if you get so much on your plate that when you go home you just crash, you never allow that time to process anything. Unhealthy coping skills are also, this is what I call them, and I didn't tell y'all this the other day, I call them STRBs, short-term energy relief behaviors. STRBs. Everybody has them. So what is that thing that you do when you want to hit pause? When you have all these assignments and you just don't want to do them? Do you play games on the computer? Or I have a game that I love to play. If I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and can't sleep, I'll just play one and then put it back, which is a terrible habit. Don't do it.
Unhealthy
STRBs,
habit.
yeah, STRBs. So alcohol, because you hit pause, and for a while you can escape that feeling of hurt and pain. Drugs, unhealthy, short-term energy relief behaviors. They wait a while, but when this wears off, reality hits again, and you've not done anything helpful to get through your grief. And so those are unhealthy short-term energy relief behaviors that will absolutely get you in a ditch. I don't know whether you've ever gotten stuck in the middle of winter in a ditch, but if you have, you know that you've got to have help getting out of it. And sometimes we get stuck in our grief. Grief recovery is active. It takes action. If we broke our arm, we wouldn't say, no, I'm not going to go get it reset. If we had a flat tire and somebody stopped and said, hey, do you need help with that flat? Oh, no, it'll fix itself. But that's what we expect when we grieve. Oh, no, it just takes time.
Oh,
right?
You hitting at us a little bit.
Good. It does take time. It does. But it's action. And so those actions that you do are getting together and celebrating their life, and pay attention to the people that you have in your life. There are always nuggets in the middle of losses. Always nuggets. Sometimes you have to dig a lot to find them, but one of those nuggets is an empathy and awareness that you never had before the loss. It makes you want to call your parents or somebody you love. That it makes you not want to leave someone's presence after an argument without making it right. And those are nuggets. And I think those are really important. An empathy for people who you didn't give the time of day with before. An understanding, a softness that comes with grief and loss.
That's powerful.
Really good.
So, Lena, how do we view grief through the idea of Imago Dei and the idea of being the image of God?
In the image of God. I love that because I think Jesus wept. I love that. And he knew that he could raise him from the dead, but he
still
wept. And he gave grief a moment, right? He gave that an emotion. And I think it was I love the way Christ has modeled so much for us in human form. Remember when he prayed in the garden till his sweat became blood, and he did not want to go to the cross. And he even said, Father, let this cup pass from me. The faith part of that, after wrestling with it all night long, so hard, getting mad at the disciples because they weren't with him. Then he said the faith part, nevertheless, not my will but thine be done. And so we have a faith problem sometimes when we prayed and prayed and prayed for somebody's healing and God took them. It's a test of our faith. I did that with my dad, and I love that God did not get angry with me when I was in the shower railing at him. What are you thinking? Take somebody that wants to go. I talk to people every day that want to go. I'm trying to bargain with God, and then I had to go through all that, and that was my praying in the Garden of Gethsemane till my sweat became blood, and then I relinquished it. Okay, God, I trust you with my dad. We heard November 17th, the day before he died. The day before his birthday. He died in February. That he had heart problem and only had 18% of his heart functioning, and he could die any minute. And I was so upset because God had healed him of cancer, and here he is dying of the last chemo treatment attacked his heart. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we just told everybody you healed him. Do you know that we put God on the chopping block all the time and say, okay, prove yourself, God. Heal him. Make yourself look good. He doesn't have to look good. And we put him in situations. We don't bargain with God. We do trust him. And I've learned that trusting him is so sweet. So sweet. And that November 17th, we heard that news. November 18th was my dad's birthday. And you might have to cut this, but I loved it because that morning I got up, and it was, remember the night before I had wailed in the shower. It's my favorite thing to do, by the way, is get in the shower because you don't have to pull tissue out of your face, right? You just wail and cry and scream and get it all out. I love it. It's cathartic. And so the next day I go to his hospital room, and everybody's gone. I thought my brother and sister would be there, and I said, I've got two things, Dad. This is 8 years ago. Two things, Dad. I put on Facebook that, yes, last week we put on there, God heals you of cancer, you're cancer-free. I went on there and said, if God doesn't heal you, this is your last birthday. And I wanted people to celebrate your birthday. So he was feeding children. Mom and Dad were missionaries in the Philippines, and he was feeding children. And they loved going to Jollibee, which was McDonald's. And so for his birthday, I wanted people to contribute $2.50 for a Happy Meal for his kids, as many as could go, so they could have a birthday party over there for him. But first I said, I want to crawl in bed with you, and I want you to hold me. And I know you can't tell me it's going to be okay. I just want you to hold me. And he held me, and I fell asleep. And he fell asleep, and the nurse came in and took a picture of us, and I've got it. It's a treasure. And And he said, he's funny, he said, if you're coming in to give the patient a shot, she's the patient. He laughed until he took his last breath. And I'm so glad we learned how to live. He lived till February. We learned to live every day to the utmost. So what I cannot control, because that's what we fear, we can't control safety. What I cannot control, I put in God's hands. And here's what I can control. I can love him extravagantly every minute I have him. And that's the way I live my life. I love extravagantly. And he has shown me the nugget is loving those people that we are so favored to be with. Yeah.
That's so good. As we close out, we wanted to ask, what is a word of hope that you have for a student who may be grieving right now?
Grieve. Don't push God away. Allow him to send you comfort. And I think God sends us comfort through others. I think we are ambassadors of God. I almost hate to say I'm a Christian anymore because so many Christians do that poorly. And the world looks on us and, so Christians, and they put us way over here in the crazy box. But I see myself as a representative of Jesus Christ. And every morning when I wake up, I say, God, give me so many opportunities today to be your ambassador, to represent you well. I couldn't counsel unless I prayed for everybody on my schedule. God, give me wisdom. I can't do this on my own. And let their minds and hearts be ready and open to hear from you. We can't do this alone, folks. No. We've got to have God. Just like I can't pout because I can't be quiet long enough, I cannot be angry with God because I need him too much.
Wow, that was incredible. You just shared so many words of wisdom that even I'll be thinking about for days and probably, rewatch this episode as well. But we just have to thank you. Imago Dei thanks you for sharing your time with us. It means the most. And as you help us as we continue to process as individuals, as a community, as a campus, thank you for leading us in that. And
it is my pleasure. It is my pleasure.
We just can't thank you enough.